Hello, welcome to August's Q&A and Q. Now, I've got a few questions here. I think I'm going to start off the video though answering a question that was posed by Hiddick Beer on his question and answer video recently. His question essentially was, what did we think about the rules as written in 8th, where the person who finishes deploying first goes first? And at the time, the ITC had a modification of that where you roll off, but the person who finished deploying first gets a +1 of the roll. It turned out an FAQ, no, I wouldn't call it an FAQ, a leak or preview of the next edition, was it the General Handbook kind of thing, is kind of indicating Games Workshop is going to use a similar mechanic to the ITC. So, knowing that, I mean, my answer is going to take into account just straight up what's the question. How do I think about the original way the rule is written and how the ITC does it? Now, I think Games Workshop was onto something a little bit, because the way this 8th edition seems to run, whoever has first turn has a significant advantage with the amount of firepower that can go out and how easy it is to put wounds on models. So giving the smaller army the first shot probably was an attempted balance. Now, I'm sure, as you've all had experience now, you can kind of mitigate that somewhat, as we all would as we learn different tricks and tips and tactics and what have you. So the thing that I never liked about that rule was the fact that if I had a small army, or I put, the fact is I go first, or worse, if I had a large number of units, I could never go first. So I didn't like the way the rule was written. I liked the ITC's approach. And honestly, I'd be fine without any advantage. No modifier dice roll. Just roll off, first, roll off to see who deploys first. Go back and forth like you do now. And then when you're all done, you roll to see who goes first. And then, just a possibility, I don't know. But anyway, because I really think that going second is a disadvantage, and having too many units forces you in that position. So there's my answer to that particular question. So now I've got two sets of 2 questions to answer. 2 individuals have commented on my previous video, asked each a pair of questions. So let's get to it. So the first one from DM Dave is, okay, this is a question because it kind of shocked me when it happened. On the first day of the campaign, the Conor campaign, was that the first time your son beat you in a game of 40K? And to be honest, I had to do some thinking on that. Now, Dave was there when I was playing in the first round of the Conor. The guy running the game pit my son against me. Now, I honestly think, my son and I have had battles before. He was in the Black Reach on the other team when we did that. But in every game we've had matched play, I think I have won. And I'm not counting open play, the games that we would do here at home, for example, where we just basically fielded like all our infantry, didn't care about points, or we were just practicing things, ideas and stuff. I didn't count any of that stuff. I believe I won every single game. It's one of the reasons he hates Tau. I don't think I got a chance to play against him with Orcs once, but that was before he got some of his better units. But it turned out that, at that first game in the Conor campaign, when I went up against him with my Tau, against his Space Marines, I was pretty confident, and I had beat him every time prior. But nope, this time he beat me. And that was the first time he ever beat me in a real, matched play type of a game. And, I'm actually glad to be reminded of that, because it was pretty neat. I had no qualms about, losing to him. That game was very well played, which, just because he's 17, he's actually spent a lot of time getting practice and learning, and he's played a lot of different opponents, and he took everything he learned and applied it to me. pretty well too. So Dave's follow-up question to that was, and what exactly did you do that tripped up your plans and strategy? Now, this was actually a case of he did the right thing, and it was different than what I expected him to do. He does not like using his, what do you call those things, the assault marines, deep striking. But he does love to deep strike his Terminators. And what I had done is he had deployed across his table pretty evenly. So there was really no one side that was stronger than the other. He put his Land Raider in the middle, and it was a Land Raider Crusader. So it's got the flamers and the assault cannons, assault cannons and hurricane bolters. Then he put his HQs. One was captain, and one was part of his honor guard. One was a champion. So he put those units to one side and behind some cover, so I could not see him, therefore can't shoot him. My response to deploy was put my 2 hammerheads, long strike, and a wingman off to my far left, basically to cover the full length of the table. There was nothing I couldn't hit. Then the rest of my force was entirely on the right third of the table. And my intent was, because he had left a gap, was to come moving around the side because the game was about holding number of units in the enemy deployment zone. So that scored me victory points, whereas the opponent scored victory points by killing units. So very important dynamic there. Well, the first thing that tripped me up was his Land Raider. The first thing he did was he charged that forward as far as he could and just started pouring fire into whatever was available to shoot at, which included a devilfish and a couple other things, but nothing. He whittled me down. And actually penned me in a bit. I had a threat there that I had to worry about. I was able to shift my devilfish around to move and get much further up the table, just as I had planned. No real problem there. He did have a dreadnought sitting in terrain in that just left of a little hole in his back line. So there was a little bit of threat there, but it's nothing I couldn't handle with some seeker missiles and the hammerhead railguns. So I moved everything kind of around as I planned. His deployment and his Land Raider did force me to kind of go a little bit wider than I intended. That bogged me down a bit, but the thing that I wasn't able to do is put enough wounds on that Land Raider to really hurt it heavily enough to kill it. I crippled it a bit, but it was a threat. It was sitting there, and it could do damage. Now, second turn, this is where he surprised me by doing the right thing. Instead of his typical fashion of taking his deep striking his Terminators back in my lines to mess me up, and I still had a broadside back there. I had 2 hammerheads he could have threatened that were pelting him and damaging him. Now, granted, I rolled some bad damage numbers, but still, they were a serious threat to him, and he knew it. In fact, he used his honor guard and his captain to try to move them forward to push on them, and I had to actually pull them back. Still was able to keep fire on everything, but he knew he had to deal with those. His plan was to use his HQs. Well, unfortunately for me, what ended up happening is he took his deep strikers, his Terminators, and dropped them right in the middle of that empty space I was trying to head into, effectively cutting me off and forcing me to engage those units with everything I could possibly do. So drone carbines, the burst cannons. I had to drop fire warriors out and fire. Now he did take out one of my devilfish, and those units had to go into cover. I could fire some of those units into Terminators. Now fortunately I was able to whittle the Terminators down, but not before he could get to my devilfish. So he would engage me in close combat and hurt my devilfish quite a bit. One was destroyed. One was damaged so badly it could only move 4 inches. Another one had to, was pretty good shape, so it was able to zoom to the other corner of the table. or sorry, to the corner of the table I was headed toward, and drop off pathfinders and stuff right there in the corner to, again, put more supporting fire down. But unfortunately, because he had dropped those units right there, he was able to engage me with plenty of firepower, plenty of close combat attacks. He was just whittling units down. I wasn't able to put enough units in his deployment zone to counteract the number of units he killed of mine, because he was smart. So that's how he won that game, and it was a near run thing until really his round of shooting in the 4th turn, because at that point he had done some significant damage to several of my models, and there was just no way I could recover. Just mathematically, there was just no way to outscore him. So that's it. He did win. He did it with intelligence, and he did mess up my plans, forcing me to adjust. But even my adjustment, I couldn't overcome those Terminators just being in the way. All right, so thanks, Dave, for those 2 questions. And now we go on to Idic Beer, who has 2 of his own. So the first one: how long have I had my beard, and do I think I'll ever shave it off? Okay, that's the first question set. I honestly don't know how long I've had the beard. It's been many years. Now, what I do is I actually have a goatee year round. Okay, but starting from October through the end of March, I let the beard completely grow in, and I like getting bushy. I guess Jonathan Frakes and I have a lot in common. We both hate to shave. That's why he was able to, for his Riker character, end up with a beard on Next Generation. There was a writer's strike, and he got lazy and just let his beard grow. When they got back to shoot, he showed up with the beard, and Gene Roddenberry saw it and just thought it was a great addition to the Riker character, and from that point on, I was called a prop. So I grew the beard. Now, I actually started the mustache and goatee thing almost just shortly after I was out of college, because I was looking so young. And when you're in your early 20s, trying to get jobs, you don't want to look young. You want to look more mature and older and all. So I went for the beard to help me get a little bit more age behind me, my face. I don't know how much it helped, but so I've been very comfortable with it. Now, the other reason I keep it is my wife likes it. Okay, that always helps. Now, I like to grow it long just to look different. I see movies and I'll see long beards or whatever you had. I just, for a while, I want to try that. I'm trying to let my hair grow out long enough because I really like the style of Qui-Gon Jinn's look with the hair pulled back and the braid coming down. But the beard, I can't grow a thin beard that doesn't look straggly, because it comes in bushy and it's not thick. So I have to let it grow and kind of bush out. It looks more like Santa Claus now that I'm getting gray. So since my wife likes it, I get to keep it. But it also acts as a great scarf in the winter. That's the biggest reason I do it from October through end of March. It just keeps it cool. I do like to go out hunting in the not that I'm successful in the wintertime, but it keeps me cool, or warm, I should say. But come end of March, I take it back to just the goatee, and this is actually a little bigger than I usually like to keep it during the summer or whatever. But again, it's all about moods, As long as my wife likes it, hey, I'm all set, Okay, now the next question he had is, what do I think makes a good conversion, the idea or the execution? And I'm not taking the easy way out on this question, because for me, it's a combination of both. The idea has to be a good one, where it's something that is, captures your imagination. I won't give any. I'm not going to reveal any of my ideas from the Necron that I've got coming up. But when you do a conversion, you want to see something that's very different from what is out there now. but definitely by looking at it, you can tell that that's what it is. Now, once you have that idea and it looks, it's imaginative and it's markedly different from what's already been out there, then if it's done well, that just takes it over the top. So a combination of the two, and if you were to, I don't know how I'd weight them, whether they're equal or not, but I think they're relative. So the more original the idea is, the less execution matters. The less original it is, or the smaller the idea is, the more execution counts. And that's kind of how I look at it. So, for example, if I were to use my own stuff as an example, when I look at my tech priests, tech priest is a tech priest. I mean, those conversions took a lot to execute because I had to combine Skitarii, Electromage, and some resin bits to come up with what I was trying to accomplish. But it's not that inspired of an idea. I mean, it was a way for me to get 5 cheap tech priests. Instead of paying over $100, I paid like 60. In total. So, plus I got some Skitarii out of it. So, I think I executed those pretty well, and because I executed them very well, in my opinion, I think they come off really good. I'm very, very proud of them. I feel great putting them on the table. I have a couple other ones that, like my Storm Guardians. I used some witch arms for with the knives and daggers, whatever, and pistols, splinter pistols, basically, and used a flex paste to basically give them sleeves because they were bare arm. Not very imaginative. It was executed okay, so I'm not really thrilled about that one. Okay, now take a look at my Wraith Knight or my Biovore. Now, the Wraith Knight, I had this image of the Exodite Knight in my head, and I was able to. So I mean, that's a completely different model look than what the Wraith Knight out of the box looks. So by redoing the head, basically building a new head, and redoing the back fin completely, I actually was able to achieve what I was looking for. I was really, really proud of that one too, because that was a really great idea, but I executed that one really well. Now, the Biovore, honestly, the bulk of it, I think it's creative, but it doesn't take a lot to make. I mean, granted, it takes a lot as far as building the Spore Mine Launcher, the actual hovercraft piece, but it wasn't really as difficult, it was imaginative, but it wasn't as jaw-dropping, I guess, as like the Wraith Knight was for me. But when I look at it, I really nailed that one. It looks like it was built that way. It was supposed to be that way, so I feel really good about that. So that's kind of how I look at the conversions. I'll use the last one I'll use as an example would be the Mega Dread, or Mecha Dread? No, I think it's the Mega Dread. I keep getting them confused. It's one I made for the Skradgard's Bits Challenge, and I literally just had to pull bits together and make it. Now, I had a pretty good idea. Actually, I think it was pretty creative, but it didn't execute it as well as I had hoped. It's passable. It looks very orky, but it's nowhere near the level of my Wraith Knight. So, idea was in the head. It was I think it was an inspired idea for what I was trying to accomplish, but it just didn't. I didn't pull it off well. So, that's kind of how I rate conversions, and I use that same kind of pattern when I look at other people's conversions. Some of them, it's like, wow, I never thought of that. And they may not have, maybe they did a good job, maybe they didn't. But if it was a really great idea, I'm impressed, and I like it. But if it's an okay job and it's not really that big a deal, I'm not wowed by it as much. So that's kind of how it all kind of plays out. I hope that kind of answered the question. At least I'm hoping. That's really the best way I can put it. So think of it in terms of a balance. You got to score well on both parts to really have a great conversion. But you can still have a good conversion if one or the other is good. So that's kind of how I rate things. So, all right. So that's all I've got for questions this month. Relatively simple, straightforward. Please, hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below with your questions for next month. It's been a lot of fun. So I'll keep doing this as long as questions come. I don't care if it's just 3 or 4. But please, the more the better. I'd love to get through a long list, and we'll just see. This month, though, for the life of me, I had it took me a while, but I think I finally stumbled on a question I kind of want to ask kind of everybody. I don't think I've asked this before on any of my videos in general, but I'm kind of looking outside of the actual model building thing. If there was, if money wasn't an object, okay, and you had the time to travel, we'll just set that. No, none of those. Don't worry about finances or time. But if you could go someplace to play 40K, where would you really want to go? What is? It could be an event, a convention. It could be some channel. It could be a store, that you really like. Just anything. Where would you want to go if you could go there? You'd really want to be able to have the experience of gaming at this place, whatever that place is. So, put your comments below and let me know where those are, and we'll see you next month. All right. Thanks a lot for sticking with me. Share, like, subscribe for those of you who are new to the channel, and let me know below what your questions might be. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.